when you are browsing through the many, many different valleys of the internet, you are not necessarily always the consumer. When you consider the tech giants, the Googles, the Snapchats, the Amazons, all of the sort of big companies that exist in the modern day, not necessarily the ones that own things like food and stuff like that, the ones that are quite modern, the ones that are mostly tech-based, the ones that have only really been around in the last 40-ish years or so, to them, you, the civilian, the people that are in the majority group of the population in terms of things like income, age, stuff like that, you are not necessarily the consumer. To them, you are the product, because there is a vast gap between the two sort of circumstances and sort of groups of people. You consider tech giants like Instagram and Google, right? They do not consider you as consumers, because their consumers, the big tech giants' consumers, are actually sort of like an intermediate group of people. They are the sort of the Amazon FBA sellers that sell like their sort of products. They're the people that sort of want to pay companies like Google and Instagram for adverts and advertisements and Facebook and all that sort of stuff. To the tech giants, this group of people are the consumers, and to you, the majority group of the population, to this group here, you are their consumers. But to the big group here, you are their product, because the way that Google, the way that Instagram, the way that TikTok earns money is not by you scrolling, is not by you browsing the internet and buying things. The way that they make the majority of their money is from companies that, while are not as big as them, are still companies that are paying them to be able to just make themselves have a bigger name, because these are the companies that you can't really exist in the world without. You can't really go without Google, as much as it might be quite a nice utopian way to live your life, to go without all of the sort of mainstream technology. It's very inconvenient and incredibly hard, and not necessarily a good and optimal way to go about life, because realistically, companies like Google, companies just like Meta and stuff like that, they have done potentially a net positive impact on the world, but that's not to say that they haven't done bad things in one way or another. But yeah, back to the sort of main points. When you are scrolling on TikTok, all the big tech companies care about is that you spend as much time as you can conceivably imagine on their sort of entertainment service, because while they don't necessarily make money just by the mere fact that you are spending time on their platform, they make money because the more time you spend on their platform, the more chance you have to see advertisements, the more chance you have to click on their sort of links and buy stuff, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I know that there's a weird sort of psychological thing. You probably may have never bought anything from an advertisement before. You think of like YouTube ads and how everyone hates them. Yet, if everyone hated them, how on earth are people, companies and stuff, entrepreneurs, able to pay YouTube to actually put their ads and stuff before videos? Because if they made net losses, then obviously they're not going to do that, because that's not necessarily a smart financial decision. So clearly there is a group of people who are paying these like people, these entrepreneurs, these companies to use their services. So in one way or another, as much as you may think it false, adverts and stuff like that, they do work, and the way that they're going to be improving, especially in terms of personalization and stuff like that, is insane. You probably would have heard of things like SEO and keywords. I've not really gone into the world of advertising that much, because I haven't made any products and stuff myself. But I know there is a very deep level to how personalized adverts and stuff can be. I think, especially with Google adverts, I'm not at all familiar with like the Facebook and Meta ads, but Google ads, like you type somewhere around 200 keywords, and if you type those sort of any of those 200 sort of phrases, words into Google, your ad, the ad that person is showing, has a chance of coming up. There's going to be a lot of other companies that are running ads that have that specific phrase or keyword, because there's so many people in the world. There's like 8 billion people or so on the earth, and so it's the same sort of point with how advertisement stuff. As much as you may think that none of this stuff works for you, none of this stuff makes any sense, there's so many people that there is bound to be people that actually click on that stuff. There's bound to be there's bound to be people that actually consume products from advertisements, which isn't, I'm not trying to put that down. That's no bad thing because they are so personalized. It can just be the one thing that people do actually need. There is definitely a place in the world for that sort of stuff. But as much as it may not have a big effect on your life, there are so many people out there that you have to consider that there is a reason that this stuff exists, even though you think it to be completely useless. But yeah, it's the whole thing. YouTube does not get paid for you being on their app. YouTube gets paid from the people that are running the advertisements. So you are not consuming. So you are not consuming in a monetary sense. You're consuming in a time sense, which is a different topic entirely. You're not consuming in a monetary sense YouTube whatsoever. The people that are consuming YouTube services are the people that are paying for ads to be run before people's videos. That's how this whole attention economy, whatever you want to call it, thing works. You just want as much time. You want people to spend as much time. You want people to spend as much time on your apps, on your websites as possible, because you can put advertisements on there. If you think of, let me use an example. If you think of someone who is starting a business where they sell soap, for instance, I don't know, just any random odd example. Initially, when they first make their website and they have the link for you to buy soap and it gets delivered to your house, then you are the consumer. You are consuming their goods. But once they increase their popularity, they design their website to be very optimal and they can start to run ads. What do you think by a couple years, 3, 4, 5 years in the future, makes up a bigger proportion of said person's income? It's probably going to be things like the advertisements and the sponsorships, rather than actually you, the consumer, paying for the soap, for instance. So at that point, you become the product because you are the ones that are viewing the advertisements. And if think about it, if absolutely no one viewed those advertisements, or if absolutely no one interacted with those advertisements, then clearly the people that were paying that person who ran the soap business to put advertisements on their website, they would just stop that contract because clearly it's not working, no one is interacting, and the advertisers, are not actually getting any profit or monetary gain from running that advertisement. So clearly there is no point. So because you actually are invested in those advertisements, because they are so personalized, they the soap business person will actually probably design their website more optimally. As sure, they'll still have the fact that you can buy soap products on their website, but they will design it in such a way that they can optimize like the position of the advertisements rather than just putting them whereabouts, because like that actually is the thing that makes more money, for instance, for them than you, the consumer, actually paying for the product. So at that point, you become the product because it's your actions, your decisions, you clicking on the advertisement and you buying the other person's product that actually makes someone else money. So it's like that process of you doing something else that makes someone else money means that you are like a cog in the machine for them. Not in such a dehumanizing sense, but you kind of understand what I'm saying by that. And that is on a small scale. And that is on such a small scale. Think about Google, think about Instagram, think about Facebook, think about like all the other meta sort of apps that exist, WhatsApp and all that sort of stuff. They only care about you buying other people's products. They only care about that process of you doing something else and actually being invested in the advertisements that they are allowing other smaller, admittedly, companies to actually run on their massive sort of tech services in a way. So that process becomes the thing that makes the money, and therefore you become the product. And that's not necessarily wrong. That's not necessarily the way that the world should not work. This isn't. I'm not. that's not necessarily such a wrong thing. I'm not saying that this isn't the way the world should work, but you as a human being deserve to have an understanding of that, and it's your choice what you choose to do with the knowledge that I'm giving you. It's not, I don't mean to sound like some kind of matrix preacher in a way where, oh, you've got these big companies that are like controlling you and stuff. And while there can be arguments to be made where you literally are the product, like they are selling your personal data. Not only are they like transferring your search results and all that sort of stuff and seeing how they can optimize the keywords that I've talked about before and stuff like that, they could actually sell your personal data, things that you put into like the checkouts and the deliveries and stuff like that. That's a bit of a shady thing, and that's where the whole net negative, net positive argument comes into play. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this topic. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily something that should be gotten rid of from the world. But you, as someone who exists and who is a human being, does deserve to know about that, does deserve to know that that is the way that a lot of the tech sort of companies work and operate, because they are absolutely massive. They make money in the trillions and billions by now. So they're, you, the consumer, that admittedly, even me, like, I don't earn that, like, I don't earn a lot of money, nothing, pennies, quarter pennies, comparable to the amount that these big companies make. We're not the people that are actually giving them the profits. It's the people that are the sort of intermediate groups, people that are the entrepreneurs that are paying for adverts and stuff like that. That's what makes the bulk of their income, not the donations, not all that sort of stuff. I hope you see what I mean with this, and yeah, as I say, it's your choice what you do with this knowledge, but you as a human being do kind of deserve to understand how that process actually works. But with that, I recommend subscribing, because I like this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have, and good luck.